Hello, the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Dave Candito.
Back again with a little bit more Mortal Kombat, this time with number 11 and the good old story mode. And you know what's the funny thing is, as we were playing through this and so on, in my mind I pictured the Mortal Kombat 11, the story, being kind of shorter than the other ones because they had the two parts. And we're just doing part one here. But I kind of thought about, I'm like, I think it's literally the same length as Mortal Kombat 10.
I think it about is, yeah. I thought maybe it was going to be too short without that aftermath, or maybe aftermath was going to be a little short or whatever. But no, it was a pretty good length, and I think, like you said, it was about the same as 10. I guess jumping right into it, the one thing I noticed, well, I didn't notice right away. I noticed like halfway through playing it was no quick time events.
Yeah, the quick time events definitely go away in 11. That's only there mysteriously for the 10.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is I will say is this story goes by a little bit faster because it's way easier comparatively to 10 and especially 9. Because I literally think 9 is actually the same length as well too. I think what does 9 is the fact that there's so many battles in there that like the ones where you have to fight two people at once that makes it longer. That I think that's really what extends out the total length of the game is the fact that you have those you know 1-on-2 battles, and especially if it's a character you're not that comfortable with, that's where it would get me.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, 9 felt like it was significantly longer than 10 and 11. I kind of feel like it still might be, but at the same time, I think you're right. That those 2-on-1 fights were just insane. Let's see what else are some differences here. So no quick time events in 11, and there's no more X-ray attacks. They're now called fatal blows.
Yeah, and the system runs a little bit differently. Instead of just kind of building up, you get them like once you're, I think, below like 33%.
Exactly, yeah. Which
and
I kind of like the older system better. I liked building it up. It's like you're kind of getting something for your awesome skills, you know. Now it's like, well, you're about to die, so try this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's weird because it's like I felt like I used them so much less in this game, just even in this replay and so on. Like,
man, I think I did too. No, I think about it.
I almost kind of forgot they were there for a while, and then it was like, oh yeah, there they are, and so on like that. One other thing I do notice in 11, since we've just been playing the other two, is this kind of jacks me up a bit, but they switch the. Like instead of doing like the X-ray, you can use your bars to do a more stronger version of your special attacks.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed in this one they switched the button, so it's not block. You don't do like like say like back, forward, square, or X or whatever, and then you press block like in the other ones, and then it would do the stronger attack. And this one you have to press R1, so I don't know. I felt like I had a hard time getting used to that, and it's like one of those ones that's like I know I've played through Mortal Kombat, 11 here, but like I forgot. Like when you play them back to back, that's how you kind of notice just certain little small features.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think it's radically different from 10. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me, but I think I almost associate 10 and 11 as being different than 9 in a weird way. I don't know if you kind of understand what I'm saying, but that almost feels like, even though it's a prequel to both, even though it's in the same company, it's the same generation, the NetherRealm games and everything, there's just something different about that game versus 10 and 11. I find more similarities between 10 and 11 than I do 10 and 9 or 11 and 9, 1 and 9.
Yeah.
The main thing I think is that jump in graphics for sure. The 11 is such a beautiful game. I think it's still, even though 1 is clearly more polished and very nice, 11, when it came out, I was blown away, and I still am. Even this last playthrough, I was like, man, these graphics are great.
Yeah. No, I noticed that too. It's like the graphics are so good. I think it's because here's the thing is, of course, 9 is being an Xbox 360/PS3 game, and then 10, that game is like, even though I think it's 2015, so it is a couple years into the PS4/Xbox One cycle.
I think it was 14.
Or maybe it was 14. No matter what, it's still a couple years into the run. But it's amazing how it's like that's the same system that 11 came out on, and 11 just looks like it. That's where like they have it dialed in. They got they just got it looking great. They've learned how to run the hardware, at its maximum. And yeah, even this playing through this, you could almost say it feels like you're playing a PS5 game, even though I know it's not.
Yeah.
But it looks good. Everything about it is fantastic.
So I actually have it on both PlayStation and Xbox.
So do I.
The reason why was because I bought it. I bought it originally when it came out in 2019. I think I was talking about this in our last podcast. I hated Kingdom Hearts so bad that I traded in on Mortal Kombat, even though I was losing money, whatever, not much money, but I guess the way I figured I was losing money is because I knew there was going to be more DLC, and I was like, I'm buying this now, I'm going to pay more, but whatever. I was much happier to have that game for sure. And but yeah, I bought that when it came out, and on PS4. Well, I had it, and I had all the characters and everything. I think minus Aftermath. I don't think I had gotten it yet, but I remember I went to Brazil in 2021, and I gave my PS4 to my wife's sister for her birthday, and then I bought her a copy of the complete Mortal Kombat 11 to play because she liked Mortal Kombat a lot, and then when I got home, I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this? And I just gotten an Xbox One, like a crappy Xbox One for free. The guy gave me because he's like, oh, it just doesn't read discs. It just doesn't work. And I don't know why I thought it would work, but I tilted the Xbox up and put the disc in, and the games worked fine. But if you had it just sitting down, they wouldn't read. But so I was like, oh, cool, I got an Xbox for free. But so I didn't have a PS4 to play MK11 on, so I went ahead and just bought it on the Xbox, the Microsoft Store, and I bought everything I already had, played it again, did all the endings again, and it was just such a fun game. We haven't even gotten into the story yet, but I think what I love the most about that game, don't get me wrong, I do have some mixed feelings about the story, although I feel better about it after this last playthrough. I think that happens a lot. I'm sure you you think back in games like, man, that was ridiculous, and then you play it again, I'm like, oh, actually, it's not that big of a deal. But the thing I love the most about this game has got to be the crypt. There hadn't been a better crypt up until this game. It was so fun. Talk about a game within a game that doesn't end.
There's all kinds of cool stuff in there, all kinds of unlockables. You just keep getting things and so on. I kind of messed around a little bit with that too, because I kind of forgot. I'm like, what was the crypt like in this one again? And I started running around in there. And I just wanted to say this real quick, because I ended up buying this game again too, because you could play Mortal Kombat 11 on Xbox Game Pass, which means you could stream it. But of course, they just give you just the base game and not the ultimate version. But they had a sale that was for $10. You could get Injustice and Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate editions. I'm like, yeah, give me that. And you could play both of them on the streaming thing. So the cool thing was by doing this I knew that I had some time to kill while I was in the car and everything like that. So I busted out the Mortal Kombat and I played some of the story mode, kind of handheld Game Boy style, and then I could just pick it up again when I got home on the Xbox. So. And plus, it doesn't. To me, it's I don't mind having fighting games sometimes on both consoles, because I'll go back and forth, and I'll literally do that thing too, where I'll buy games on different consoles. It's kind of like, oh, cool, now I get new achievements to unlock and everything like that. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome. So the crypt, I used to have. We talked about it before. I used to have Mortal Kombat, Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon. But I didn't do really anything other than play the game itself. I didn't look into the extras, the little mini games. But I think one of them, if not all three, had a crypt. And I didn't know that. 9 had a crypt, and 10 had a crypt. 9's crypt almost seems archaic compared to both of them, to be honest. It's very simple. There's no all it is unlocking stuff. There's no little tricks. There's no hidden items. There's no Easter eggs. It's just it's kind of a map with a bunch of things that you have to have points to unlock, and that's it. Nothing wrong with that. There was stuff, and all you got out of the MK9 crypt was like concept art. I think there might have been, you got like, I think a couple different fatalities and stuff, brutalities, maybe an outfit here or there, but I don't remember much of that, if any. And then 10 was cool. The crypt in 10 was cool. It was a much different concept. It wasn't just concept art. It was you got a lot of other stuff, new skins, new this and that, blah blah blah. And it was much more immersive. It was really cool to see all these different levels that I had an idea they were probably like stages, modified to actually walk around in. And 11 just took it to a whole nother level. Like there's full on scenes when you get to certain places. Like there's a scene where you see Ermac die. Like it's launched out of a room, out of some cave or whatever, and then it falls onto one of the spikes, like the level of the pit. And then just so on and so forth. There's all kinds of cool stuff in the crypt, and that's why it's like it gets the player to play the game more, so you can get more coins to go back in the crypt and unlock all your stuff. And there's a few things in there that I'm like, I want to be upset with the company for doing it, but at the same time, I don't, because it makes me think of a time where there were these like seemingly impossible feats in video games that like nobody can do except for like maybe that one kid. I don't know, nobody likes him or something. But there's in the crypt in 11, there's like a couple items. If I know of one, if not more, like 2 or 3 that are like you have to do these different puzzles, have like 1 million coins, unlock this and that, figure out this secret code, and like do all this, and finally you got this like character skin. It's whatever. But anyway, that's my thoughts about the crypt. That's my favorite part of the game.
No, it is pretty cool. I will say I've never put like a copious amount of time into them. I've always kind of like checked them out, ran through them, spent some of my coins and so on like that.
I wasted so much time.
Got some unlockables and so on like that. And I always think it's kind of cool because I mean that is really the best part about Mortal Kombat games. And I'll even say, going back to like the beginning of the PS2 era ones, is they always gave you so much stuff for the single player to do. You know, there was always a bunch more unlockables. There was always a bunch more stuff, you could play through. You get coins, you get all this kinds of stuff. They put bonus modes. Like even in the PS2 ones, they had weird modes. Like one had a kart racing, one had a puzzle one had, I even think they had something else like that. I almost want to say a skateboard. I know I'm probably just making that up, but like, I think that's just Metal Gear Solid had that one little like, the snake skateboarding thing. But they gave you a lot of cool stuff that I will say that things like Street Fighter and all that kind of stuff normally never do. So I always think that's so cool. And 11 is jam packed with like extra content, like beyond just like. The story mode and everything like that. I mean, you could literally go in and customize your characters and change their outfits and looks and so on like that. For the most part, I feel like they give you like maybe like 7 or 8 outfits, and then there's like a copious amount of color changes, but it's still kind of neat. You can go in there and do that.
I know that customization in games is not for everyone. You can go down the rabbit hole really easy if there's too many options, and just keep going and going and going. That's what happens to me with Diablo 4, I mean. And I don't know, it is what it is, but I really liked how much customization there is in Mortal Kombat 11. So many different variations, outfits, accessories, and stuff. It's just really cool because you can take your favorite fighter and make them like almost your own. Pretty cool. But so yeah, gosh, how about that story, man? How about that radical shift from 10 to 11?
Yeah, no, there is quite a bit of change here too, and I kind of thought about it because when you're kind of looking at all these stories together, especially when you go 9, 11, and 1, of how much time travel stuff there is. And I can kind of see where some people have gotten burnt by this because it's like they keep restarting the story like literally every couple games. Like at least 10 was a continuation thing and so on like that. There's nothing radical going on there. It's straightforward. It's linear and so on. And I mean, I do get it because it's a fighting game, so especially it's Mortal Kombat, so you kill off characters in games, and then after a while you're like, well, geez, we need to bring this guy back. Well, how do we do this? Bring a young version of him back, or even this goes for all the Mortal Kombat ones, that there'll sometimes be things, and I understand it's just to have a fighting scene more than anything else. Where just like characters will have sort of like a light argument. It's like, well, you know what? I'll show you how to settle this. We're gonna throw some fists down. You know what I mean? Let's all beat the shit out of you right here. It was almost like the way that also in Injustice, those games. I felt like you had to kind of piss each other or each superhero off just so you could have fight scenes more at the end of the day.
Yeah, but yeah, it really is. It's kind of like, I tell this to people about just about everything out there. We're in this world right now where it's multiverse everything. Like that way. Like when somebody dies in whatever movie you watch, whatever comic you read, book you read, game you play, it's like, don't fret too much. They're probably coming back. Like they're gonna find a way to like, oh well, yeah, he died in your timeline, he died in your universe. But this one just showed up, and it's. I feel like I don't know if you saw that last Deadpool movie that came out.
I did.
Deadpool and Wolverine. I loved it. But I have the idea that they were kind of making a mockery of all the multiverse stuff, and that which fair enough, man. It's like, come on, you gotta call it quits with this eventually, because it's just a regurgitated concept that it is what it is. But that said, I do love when my favorite characters come back. I mean,
yeah. No, I'll say that too, because it's one of those ones I got some mixed feelings about, kind of multiverse stuff /
time traveling,
even time travel. Like I'm not,
Same.
There's a time and a place for time travel, but sometimes I think it's a little bit of a cop out way to kind of try to rewrite stories. And
I didn't say it's an easier way to write a plot.
And it's even like. See, it's like the kind of multiverse thing. I'll even say in both DC and Marvel, I'm not even the biggest fan of that there. I'm fine with I like kind of like an Elseworld story. Like, well, here's just a Batman random story. Like, what if he was in the 1800s? I'm like, that's cool because it's just a standalone thing. But when they try to be like, well, let's try to combine that together so that it fits in with normal Batman. Like, no. Just leave normal Batman as is. These other ones could just be, they have nothing to do with the same universe and so on like that. No, all this stuff. And it's like almost, if you're going to have a different dimension, I'd rather have it be like Ninja Turtles, where it's like there's a different dimension, but it's not like it's an alternative Turtles universe, even though I know they've done that Ninja Turtles as well, too. But, that being said, Mortal Kombat, I get it. They just need to, once again, bring the characters back that they've killed off and so on. So that's about the only way you can do it, is mess with the time stream. And because you have this character, Chronica, who, ends up being Shinnok's, mother or whatnot.
Mom.
So she's the controller of time and whatnot, and now she's decided she's gonna bring things back. And in this process here, she brings back all the young versions of pretty much Mortal Kombat 1 characters. So now you get this mixed match of, here's some characters from literally Mortal Kombat 1, 92. They don't look like how they do in Mortal Kombat 9. It's kind of funny. I think about that. That's how you think they should. And I know that's kind of like that right there is one of the issues that I know some people have, where they're like, you know what, I gave up on Mortal Kombat. Like, well, once they stop looking like Mortal Kombat 9 characters or whatever, that's it. No more.
Yeah. That's funny because so one of the big things was the pretty radical change in costumes. Something I don't particularly mind. I don't need, nobody needs anything, but I don't require that the female characters that I'm playing be wearing, strings for clothes.
Yeah.
I don't mind that at all. In fact, I think their outfits are really cool. In 11, I think they're fitting very well. And 10 even wasn't that bad either.
Yeah.
But I know that was one of the biggest complaints. And it was like, oh, man, they're just catering to the feminists and the wokes and all this. It's like, man, that's what you have to complain about? Like, it's really not that big of a deal. Holy crap.
Well, it's that. And I will say the characters' designs are really cool looking, though.
They are really cool.
I love the look of Katana. I like Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and just they have a mixed match of being both classic yet being this kind of new style.
Like a refreshed classic.
Yeah, a refreshed classic, and I really like the way they look, especially Katana's one. And Katana has a really cool storyline.
Katana and Liu Kang have got to be my favorite redraw. I don't know how you call that. The way they've been redefined in this game, not only Liu Kang's art, but I actually really prefer playing Liu Kang in this one over 10 and 9. I don't know why. I just, especially Fire God Liu Kang.
Yeah, get a little bit extra moves in there too.
And I'm kind of, I can see both sides of what of the argument about their looks, their designs. I'm a kind of person where I never played Mortal Kombat for the sexualized characters. At the same time, I don't care. Like I love how ridiculous and over the top Mortal Kombat was. It wouldn't have bothered me if it continued that way. I think that changing the characters to be more appropriate was going after an audience that probably wasn't playing the game anyway. But at the same time, again, man, I don't care. I think they look awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they look kind of cool, because I kind of, in my mind, I remembered it being like, I felt like, I'm like, boy, they censored kind of like I would have said, like, they kind of felt like they censored a lot of stuff. Even the men don't even have shirts off in this. Liu Kang has a shirt on for a moment, so it's I was like, okay, well, his is off. I'm like, even the men are fully clothed in this one. Like, I want bare-chested Liu Kang the whole time.
That's right. I want a naked male monk on my TV, and if it's not there, I'm out.
Yeah, I want Johnny Cage, no shirt on. Kano, no I want nobody with a shirt on.
I didn't even think about that. But yeah.
But
I think Kano's got to be the most naked dude there. Young Kano and Kotal Khan, I guess. Yeah, I think
so. Kotal Khan.
Maybe the Collector. I don't know. All the Outworld people, they can't afford clothes, so.
No. Well, and Kotal Khan, this is the funniest thing, is like, I think about, I know we're kind of jumping around some of the story stuff here, but I just got to say, is like, when I think about Kotal Khan, I'm like, nobody must have any faith in this guy there. Like, if this is the dude who's in charge of Outworld after Shao Kahn, he looks like such a pushover comparatively. Like, Shao Kahn was like, he ruled like legitimately with an iron fist. Like, nobody was messing around there. And you've got Kotal Khan literally in Mortal Kombat 10. He's doing a public execution, and then somebody from Earthrealm was like, hey, you know what? That's kind of a pain in the ass thing there. You know what? I think that you guys shouldn't be doing this. What do you do? Steal an apple? That's it? Be like, challenge me really quickly. And then he loses in front of everybody to
Kung Jin.
Yeah, Kung Jin, who oddly is not in Mortal Kombat 11 at all.
Neither is Takeda.
Takeda. It's like no.
Or Kenshi.
Yeah, they're all just like, yeah. As I said, you think just a light cameo or something, but yeah. So Kotal Khan already gets beat in front of all his people, like right off the bat, from some random teenager that pretty much showed up out of Earthrealm. And then is spared to keep going on. But from that point on, they're like, dude, do you really trust this guy? I mean, come on. He's already lost. And then like in Mortal Kombat 11. Too, you're watching him. It's just like, God. Once again, he's getting his ass whooped left and right. He can't take care of anything. He's a cool looking character, but boy, does he feel fragile for that.
I know. Well, and one of the funny things too. This is early on. It's I think the first time they show Outworld and Kotal and everything is it's when Kronika starts to change time up, and Shao Kahn shows up and the other young characters and blah blah blah. And Kotal Khan's like, he says something along the lines of like, you will not suffer under Shao Kahn again. And I'm thinking, man, you almost executed a dude because he stole an apple. What are you talking about? Like, I don't think they're like under any different treatment here. You're just not as scary. But
yeah. Even Shao Kahn comes back and they cheer him. They're like, finally, the right president's back in power.
I know. That makes you wonder. Like, I wonder if Shao Kahn's rule is kind of just like Darth Vader's. Where like, is life really that bad? I don't know.
Yeah, I always think about that in Star Wars, especially when I got older. So I'm like, you know what? Probably living in galactic area, like not like on like the outskirts, but if you're like in a straight up galactic town, I bet you it's great. Probably have free Wi-Fi service and so on like that. The internet's actually fast.
Their holograms come in. You there? Your sound went out a little bit.
Oh, did it? Did it? Am I back?
No, you're back. You're back.
Okay. That's weird. But yeah, as I said, I think Galactic kind of had some benefits, and it's probably how Shao Kahn was. It's probably like one of the ones like, as long as you follow the Shao Kahn,
the Shao
Ten
Code.
Commandments, you're doing good, but yeah, I feel Kotal Khan is just like he's that guy. Yeah. You watch him in both 10 and 11, you're like, I don't know how he even beat Melina in Control. Let's be honest.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding. The
lucky there.
The I love how when she breaks in, and he usurps the throne, like Ermac and the Reptile just immediately like side with Kotal Khan, like they barge in there with her, like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I'm taking over. They're like, okay. So the story, it continues right after 10, unlike 10, which continued like
20
a
plus
couple
years later.
Initially a couple years after 9, and then something like that, and then 20 years later, 11 carries over directly from 10. And I remember before I started this replay, this playthrough again, I was already initially kind of a little bummed out. Why? Because after that bombshell of an ending of 10, where Raiden's just like, fuck all of you, like I'll kill all of you if you try to invade Earthrealm, that's like, whatever. And
Dark Raiden doesn't last for very long. It's like, we leave off on this. I think that would have been good to be the whole storyline of 11 really should have carried that Dark Raiden thing.
That's what I thought, man.
And then, because then making it like the Raiden, it's like almost that thing is, here's the dude, like the pillar of light, the guy who's always tries to be right. He makes a lot of mistakes. Let's be honest. He's got a lot of human flaws, in that way. He has to go consult the elder gods all the time. He never knows what's up. But whatever. The fact that he's like, you know what, Raiden ain't taking shit no more and stuff like that, and he becomes, because that would have been kind of a cool one too, where like he realizes that Kotal Khan's like being like weak and so on, like they'd be like, you don't know how to run Outworld properly. Let me show you. And maybe it almost has that thing that like Raiden's like, you know what? Earthrealm is always being pushed around by Outworld, but guess what now? Now instead of Outworld trying to invade Earthrealm,
Earthrealm's invading Outworld.
Yeah, and it's going to try to, like, in a sense, tame Outworld is almost the way he looks at it. Like, like, I'm going to solve all of Outworld's problems with a lightning bolt to the face.
The people who live in Outworld are just like, whatever. It's not like our life's any worse. They're
like,
they're used to this.
Yeah, there's a lot of torture. We're poor. We're poor, except we have a commanding army. Yeah.
But yeah, that just I was so disappointed, that it didn't carry that forward, and all I kept thinking about was that. And so, but basically, so it takes, at the end of 10, he's got Shinnok's head. He throws it on the floor. Revenant, Liu Kang, and Katana are like, what now? And then it basically does that again, but it skips the scene with Liu Kang and Katana. And I guess you can just assume that it happened because Shinnok's head ends up going somewhere in the Nether Realm. And but then Kronika, of course, is like, oh no, Raiden is, he's an asshole, and he's broken the rules, like, and here's my thought. I'm like, was Shinnok not breaking any rules? I mean, like, what?
Yeah, the Shao Kahn, has he been a good boy this whole time?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, wait a minute. She's talking about how Raiden was upsetting the balance, and I'm like, has she, lived under a fucking rock?
Yeah, what was Mortal Kombat 3 all about?
Everyone's upsetting the balance, but there's only a problem when Raiden does it. And that was kind of like the funny thing about like Shao Kahn invading Earthrealm, and Raiden's like, Elder Gods, come on. And they're like, nope, we're not doing anything about this. There's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied. But so I think it's that one. See, once again, Shao Kahn just ruled with Iron Fist. Even the Elder Gods, do you want to go talk to him? Nope. Just let him do what he wants. You know what I mean? Maybe he'll get bored and he'll go back. And that's what I loved about that movie too. I think it was the second one. The Battle of Realms, where they go to talk to the Elder Gods, him and Raiden, and Shao Kahn like doesn't show him any respect. He's like, I don't give a shit. Like, fuck these guys. Yeah. It's not like showing them respect did anything for Raiden. No. But, Raiden tries to do the right thing, and mostly when he's been doing the right thing in Mortal Kombat, just mostly ends up with other people dying. Yeah. So then they decide under Raiden's instruction to now's the time to go fight to go battle Netherrealm. So they go down there. Jackie and Cassie, minus Takeda and Kung Jin. There's a lot of characters missing. You don't really get much of an explanation as to why. Not that we're owed one, but it'd be nice.
Well, especially for the fact that, like, towards the end of Mortal Kombat 10, once again, Jackie and Takeda kind of
they have a romance.
Yeah, it's just like it's like it did one of those things where, like, there's almost a sequel where like in the first one there's like their boyfriend and girlfriend, they're like that, and then the second one's like, well, we couldn't get her back again, so let's just write something at the beginning, like, what happened to her? Ah, fuck that bitch, I threw her out. Like Transformers 3. That's literally like how that movie starts off. Like, what happened to Megan Fox? Like, yeah, I don't know, fucking whore. On to the next one, yeah.
I forgot about that. And then his girlfriend's a freaking Decepticon sympathizer or whatever, or she's actually a Decepticon herself or some weird shit.
Yeah, something goofy there.
That was weird. But anyway,
maybe Kung Jin and Takeda actually had that gay relationship that they hinted at 10.
Maybe.
And then they're like, well, we have a don't ask, don't tell policy here at the Special Forces. So,
yeah.
We're gonna have to ask you guys to leave.
Man. But then so they invade. Sonya gets trapped and dies in the Netherrealm. Cassie Cage and Johnny.
She has to make the great sacrifice, and
of course.
Tells her team to carry on and so on. Because this game's got a little bit of those I mean, all Mortal Kombat's have sacrifices, but this one has some of those.
It was nice and cheesy.
Yeah, yeah.
Had like that. I call it that 80s cheese. Kind of makes me think of the older action movies, and maybe a little bit of Team America. I don't know. But no, Sonya dies. They all escape, and they blow up the whole. They called it like Cathedral or Citadel or something. I don't know. But basically, Revenant, Liu Kang, and Katana's headquarters. They blow it up, and they're like, "All right, we did it," and they get back to their fortress in Earthrealm, and Johnny Cage is upset because he's like, "Where's Sonya? Oh, she's dead." Blah blah blah. They're recouping, and Kronika goes to Liu Kang and Katana.
Well, I was going to say this real quick. Poor Johnny Cage is, okay, so now the relationship's gotten really good with Sonya.
Oh, that's right.
So, that's the thing. That's why you feel kind of bad for him. It's like, man, it's back together after all those hard years of them not really getting along, and Sonya being like the workaholic father. Johnny Cage just wanted to be the housewife that just wants to be loved. And have fun, and now it's finally back together. They're back to being a family with Cassie and everything like that. And poor Sonya she sacrifices herself for the good of the rest of the team, and Johnny has to find the news out that way. I feel kind of bad for him.
Yeah, that is definitely a bummer. That's for sure. And Raiden, old evil Raiden's like just says something like, "Her sacrifice was honorable." And they're like all upset about it, and I guess I would be too. But Jackie Briggs is like, "You didn't just say that." Like, what do you expect him to say? He's a god.
Because he's been around for a long time. Like, these things are kind of a little bit trivial to him.
Yeah, exactly. Evil Raiden or not.
He's like, hey, I sent Kung Lao to his death in that first one, so I thought it was a good idea. It
was incredible. It was vibrant.
Yeah.
It's like a Guar show. He's getting blessed. I love it. Which is funny. We're actually going to a Guar show here in like 2 weeks.
Ooh,
but that's like Mortal Kombat for real, like at home. But no, so they're kind of recouping from their mission, mourning over Sonya. Let's see, and then of course that's when they jump into Outworld, and boom, all the characters show up. And we already discussed that, but what's the one thing that I didn't understand before and I don't understand now? You don't really get an explanation, except for Raiden's powers are different because he's a god. In that the old Raiden disappears, the young Raiden shows up. Why?
Well,
I mean,
there can't be two Raidens, because he does sort of explain it that, like, because he's a god, like, there can't be two of them. Because what happens with a lot of the other characters is now there's an old and a new version, or old and a young version of each one. But Raiden, because of his godlike powers, he just gets for some reason, it's weird that like that's the version it kind of is chosen is the one from Mortal Kombat 1. Not
Well, this is what I mean. Like,
yeah,
that's a lame explanation.
yeah. Who decides which Raiden gets to stay? You know.
That's a somehow Palpatine's returned kind of thing there. That's a like, here, just accept it. Well, I don't have much of a choice, do I? You know. But that was one thing that I'm like, this doesn't. I don't know about this, but whatever. What am I gonna do? I play the game. That's what I'm gonna do. So they kind of get together. How do we? You know, how does this work? Blah blah blah. Young Johnny Cage meets old Johnny Cage. Young Sonya meets Johnny Cage. The old Johnny Cage meets Cassie. There's this awkward family reunion. Not really a reunion, but kind of.
Yep.
Kind of weird, kind of interesting. I love the dynamic between young and old Johnny Cage. It's like it's his son. It's
yeah, it's like hilarious. A son or like a younger brother or something like that.
And then Scorpion returns, although we have Hanzo Hasashi, the non-revenant Scorpion, who still has all of his revenant abilities.
It's like he left the Nether Realm. He's like, no, I'm still taking those fire abilities. Don't you? Can't take that away from me.
Once again, I think Scorpion's got to be. Actually, it's tough. It's tough for me between choosing Scorpion and Noob as which one's my favorite character.
Oh yeah.
I think Hanzo might be my favorite character in this game, still. But I love Noob. This has got to be my favorite version of Noob Saibot.
No, he's pretty sweet in this one here. And you know, story wise, he's just a villain part, which I will have to say, I think I mentioned this before on one of the other ones, but I'm like, one of these days, I think what they really need to do is, and they could streamline it together, but they really should have the storyline kind of go back and forth between where you play as like the villain characters and you play as the hero.
Yeah,
characters.
that'd be cool.
You could have it like funnel together where it's not like I'd rather have it do that than do something where it's like, well, here's a dark story and here's the light story and you have two different endings. No, I'd rather have it be like,
it's like Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2. Yeah. And like they funnel together and they kind of, you know, we're say like you're playing as a couple characters here and then you
because
go
that more or less happens with Aftermath, as we'll discuss.
Yeah, I guess that is true. It does they finally do it. But like in 9, 10, and 11, I think about that every single time. I'm like, man, you know, it'd be kind of cool if they, you know, like in 10, they had some Melina chapters in here that you kind of played as, and you sort of saw from her perspective what's kind of going on. She still loses and still dies. You know, I'm not saying that there's like some alternative story, but like.
But then again, so does everybody in Mortal Kombat 9.
Yeah, so
you play as all those characters, and then finally at the end, everyone dies.
Yeah, that Mortal Kombat like 9.5 too, like that thing. And then Raiden steps in, like I just love it. Like I thought about that too because it kind of brings it up in Mortal Kombat 11. How in Mortal Kombat 9, Raiden's like, you know what, Liu Kang, like, you know what, I know you guys got me to like the Super Bowl, but I think it's Raiden's time to be the MVP. That's like literally what he does. Like it's like I can't fight in this. It's you know it's a god thing and so on like that. But the second that there's like it's the final thing, like let Raiden stand there because you know who's gonna go down in history. He literally benches Liu Kang.
Yep. Yeah. The what was it? I'll tell you, when they jump into Hanzo Hasashi and Sub-Zero, where they go to, you know, one of the things about Kronika bringing people back and everything, she brings back the Cyber Lin Kuei as well, and so Hanzo and Kuei Lang decide to go and check it out where you know their factories were, and of course they're back. And they go and shut everything down, which doesn't do anything anyway because Kano's, I guess, really good technical skills and mechanical skills and Kronika's magic go ahead and just bring the Cyber Lin Kuei back again after they've all been shut down. But I swear, man, I was so disappointed. I was really excited to fight Sector and Cyrax again. But I was super bummed when they weren't released as DLC characters or characters in general. I love guest characters and stuff, but I mean, these two are fan favorites. I didn't understand why they didn't put them back in the game, especially since they brought them back in the story. They have their own movesets, like they're there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think they look fantastic. their designs, their colors, everything, their movements, they were so cool. And I'm just like, why? Why would you not bring him back? And of course, they bring him back in 1, but it's not the same.
No, yeah, it's not the same.
It's really not. And then they have their original Sector and Cybrax cameos, but once again, the whole cameo thing is not the same at all.
Yeah. No, that is kind of strange. I forgot that they're not selectable characters to play as later, you know, if you're just going to the normal arcade mode and so on. Yeah, which is weird because they play a pivotal role in the storyline of Mortal Kombat.
That's what I mean.
I mean, there's that whole, you know, the whole chapter there and stuff, and even Sector, like, literally is a time bomb that's set off by, I believe Kano's the one that triggers it and stuff, and blows up and everything like that. Maybe that's what they're like, yeah, he blew up. Like, well, what, you thought you were going to play as him? But it's weird to kind of, like, make a character and actually have a moveset and actually have it pretty much there, and then not being allowed. And it's that one, too, that, you know, once again, I know that, like, they've gotten kind of, you know, every game now it's like, okay, who are going to be like the 6 kind of guest non-Mortal Kombat characters,
sure.
Which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's always kind of fun and novel. It's another one of those weird things that, even though I like a lot of the choices that they have, but I feel like I would almost choose Mortal Kombat characters first and foremost, because let's be honest, that's what we kind of come here for.
Exactly.
You know, it would be cool to see pretty much the Mortal Kombat team just make a game that was just like Hollywood, you know, Fight Fest or whatever, in a sense, where you could put all those characters in there. So you could have all like the horror movie characters versus the sci-fi characters versus the 80s action characters. And like, yeah, that would be a badass game just in itself.
Yeah.
You know, because that's sort of what it is. I remember even somebody mentioned that. They're like, Mortal Kombat 11 is almost designed like Super Smash Brothers for like Generation X people. And I'm like, it kind of is. RoboCop, Terminator, Rambo, Spawn, you know, all
that's
the
pretty
ones that they
hilarious.
have in there.
I think about that. The Terminator.
The only downfall, though, is the Mortal Kombat games for their guest characters, they always kind of mess one thing up each time they do it, is they always kind of forget, like, to kind of combine certain things together. Like, okay, you have Freddy in the first one, but he's the only kind of guest character in there, other than I think you do actually get Kratos if you have the PS3 version. I just never had that one.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But so that one is just like a one-off, so you don't think much of it. You're like, cool, it's just that one thing there. But then they have Mortal Kombat 10, and it's like, well, now you have Jason in here. Why didn't you bring back Freddy? You could have literally had a cool Freddy versus Jason.
I know.
You know, and it's like, okay, and then you have, you know, I think you got Predator and so on like that. And then you have Mortal Kombat, I think it's 11, and I think it's that's the one where it's like, okay, well, now you have Arnold in there as a Terminator and everything like that, but then you don't. But you could have had it with the Predator or the Xenomorph. I think was in 10. That was what
Xenomorph was in 10. So you had the guest characters that were not Mortal Kombat characters in 10 were Xenomorph, Jason, what's his name, Leatherface, and then the other ones were Triborg, Tremor, Tanya.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat characters. Yeah,
and then the 11 had. T-800, the Terminator T-800, Arnold. Yeah. You had the Joker.
That's right. Yeah.
You had Spawn, RoboCop, Rambo, and then you had Shiva.
Oh yeah, then the Mortal Kombat characters. I was just trying
Shiva and Shang Tsung.
Yeah. So I was just trying to think of the guest. For some reason, I thought there was one that was like...
Oh, yeah, Goro was also a guest character in 10.
Yeah, that's right, too. But yeah,
Shang Tsung. Oh, and Nightwolf.
For some reason, I thought they had the Predator in one of the games, but I guess I'm just making...
Oh, the Predator. Yeah, the Predator was in 10.
Okay, so Alien versus... Okay, so at least that was there. That's right.
That made sense. Predator.
Yeah, because then you could have the Carl Weathers costume for Jax, which is badass.
Yeah.
But then it's like one of those ones, like, I saw that, and then it's like, well, man, that would have been cool if that was combined with Arnold Schwarzenegger, though. Like, you know, I always feel like they're kind of... I even thought about it this way. I know this is, like, really, like, armchair, like, going back in time and doing it, but it's like, it would have been kind of cool if, like, one of the Mortal Kombats, like, they had themes for their guest characters.
Right.
So one of them was just all horror movies. Like, so it's all the horror movie characters, like, say, for, like, 10. And then maybe 11 did the thing where it's like, now it's just all action movie characters.
It would have been really funny if, like, say they just couldn't, for whatever reason, like, I don't know, legal reasons, they couldn't get Arnold in 10 for, like, Arnold versus Predator, like Dutch versus Predator. So instead they got, like, Danny Glover.
Actually, that would have been amazing, because I love Danny Glover and Predator too. But I know that would have thrown people off, like, what? You got the Danny Glover character?
That would have been really funny. Like his his X-ray attack would have been pussy face or something like that.
Well, that was the one that kind of bummed me out. Remember they had that Predator Hunting Ground games that came out like a handful, like 6 years ago or something.
I never played them.
It was one. They're like the mini games. They're fun for like a couple nights, and then you kind of go, "That's the game." But you could play as Arnold Schwarzenegger in that one. He was like a DLC, and then they had a cool like 2044 like version of him or whatever the heck it was. But I was like, you have this whole Predator game here. Like, why even have these like other characters? They should just be all characters from the movies. Like, it'd be cool if it was like Predator 1, 2, Predators. Like, it just had. I think you actually had the girl from Predators. But other than that, though, like that was the only characters they had. They should have just had the whole roster. Should have been able to play as Jesse Ventura. Should have been able to play as Billy. Should have been able to play as Shane Black. Why not? But. Yeah, Danny Glover, all that stuff. It's like one of those ones. I felt like it's like that thing where it's like you're this close and you just didn't go that extra distance. I know there's money involved, but yeah, Mortal Kombat, they're guest characters and so on like that. Sometimes they're a little bit like they're cool, but sometimes they're a little bit like odd. But you know,
I think even though everybody loves them, I think the dumbest one so far has got to be Ghostface. I mean, it's just a teenager with a knife.
Yeah.
It's just so silly when you think about it, but I guess that's not what they're looking at. They're looking at the looks, the vibe, whatever, the atmosphere. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I felt like you should just put Mike Myers in there instead. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a better one. Yeah,
damn near the same thing, but like Ghostface is like a ripoff of Mike Myers.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
but what do we know?
Yeah. Well, they probably did the thing to look at the numbers, and Ghostface is more popular. So,
but anyway, yeah. So both sides of this war here that's going on, the time war. That sounds like an '80s action flick or something.
Time Cop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Time Cop. But what's going on is Kronika is trying. The whole game, I'm trying to get my head around the fact that Kronika needs help to like get all this stuff done. I'm just like,
well, she needs energy because that's one of the big things is that like she's powering up, and that's why there's that mission that I think Raiden sends Jax and
Jackie. Well, Raiden sends Liu Kang and Kung Lao to one of the Shaolin temples or something.
Yeah.
And to go get some ginseng. And when he gets there, they're met by a handful of the Revenants and so on and so forth. The new bad guys. Garrus actually I think is a really cool character. I love his sand moves, his time sand moves. He's super strong. I usually don't like strong brute characters very much. I don't like the slow movements, but I like his moves. I like his skill sets. I think they're really cool looking. Yeah. Throwing somebody down on a bed of pillar spikes that he just made out of time sand.
Yeah, no, he's cool. He's a cool design character and so on like that. And even his backstory that every single time he dies, he can't technically die. He just comes back stronger, sort of in a sense.
Yeah. Ooh, and that makes the end for him really terrible.
yeah, Raiden gets it real bad because it's like he gets chucked off a boat towards the end and whatnot. He's like, I can't drown. What do you think? He's like, yeah, well, the sea of
blood.
The sea of blood has no bottom, so sucks to be you. We fall for a long, long time.
But yeah, so they meet up there to get the ginseng, in which they fail. Every good guy in this game fails. Nothing goes right. It's kind of like Mortal Kombat 9. But they all fail at that. And then, like you said, Raiden sends Jackie and young Jax to go get the crown from Shang Tsung's island. And initially they get it, but then Cetrion, the turncoat elder god who killed all the other elder gods, somehow.
Somehow that really happens off screen. You're like, oh, okay,
like these people that supposedly can't die somehow are dead now. Whatever. She decides to side with her mom, the Titan Kronika, in this war on time, and she basically gets kind of smacked by Jackie and Jax, but then Dad Jax meets up, and he's like, I don't know, maybe it's PTSD or some crap, but he just has this idea that he needs to help Kronika because of his daughter. You know, she didn't need this future. And
he's got kind of a weird like story too, where it's like okay,
lame.
For some reason he was a revenant, and unlike everybody else who turns back from a revenant, he couldn't recover properly, so he's just been like hanging out at the farmhouse, you know, drinking way too much beer and watching TV. You know, his wife died somehow, some way.
It's got to be because he's an American.
Yeah, because he's American. So I'm like, yeah, he's literally out in like Kansas, you know, he's at Smallville, like running a farm, and it's one of those ones where, like, the whole time it's just like, I just didn't want Jackie to join the military. I'm just so pissed that she joined that. Like, that's the one place she should not be. Like, well, where should she be? Well, not the military. That's all, you know. Like, but you got a real job, like, you know, like a teacher. You
It's
know?
like, yeah, maybe she should be doing drugs, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it says saving the world and so on like that. So for some reason, you know, Jax, who you would think has all these years of Mortal Kombat experience,
Conditioning.
yeah, to not trust, you know, some strange, mysterious force that's just randomly appeared, you know. So when he decides to go join, he's like, you know what, I think this time change thing's going to be good, you know. You'll put change Jackie's life around. Kronika's got it all down, you know. Yeah, I mean, she might be the mother of, you know, Shinnok, but, you know, not everybody's, you know, some people just have bad kids. That's it. You know, I understand.
It's ridiculous. I love how somehow he doesn't know that Shinnok is the son of Kronika until the very end of the game, and he's like, "What? I didn't know." And then that's when he starts to, you know, like beat up all the cyborgs. And
yeah,
like, man,
just like you could have asked me the whole time.
I'm like, yeah,
I thought we've been friends for 25 years.
It's a weak plot point, but whatever. You know, it's like these games. It's not like they're not without their, you know, like faulty areas, but at the same time, they're just too dang fun to put down.
Well, that's the thing about it. It's like I almost feel like we're kind of ragging on this one's story a little bit more than other ones, but like at the same time, you have the greatest time playing through it.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, it's fun, and the story's really engaging, even if there is just weird choices in there, and just even those, you know, goofy plot holes, or just not using certain stuff. It's oddly that, like, it doesn't take, like, I still almost enjoy it just as much, even though I guess I have that feeling in my mind, like, if they kind of went the Dark Raiden route, you just kind of wonder, would that be cooler? Would that be better?
I think that's the sore spot for me, because they just set it up so well, and then they were like, haha, you know, like, you thought that you were going to get that cool story, but no, we're going to give you something else, which is fine. I mean, ultimately, like you said, it's not the end of the world, and the gameplay is super fun. I almost feel like the gameplay in 11 is kind of a mashup between 9 and 10. There is a little bit of a difference in gameplay between those two, and I feel like it's kind of refined a bit. And like you said, it felt easier to me, although I do play on the easy difficulty because I want to get through the story really fast. And I also suck, so there's that. But Sindel was also a downloadable character in this one.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
But
well, I know it's for myself is because I played all these games on normal, every single one of them, like, you know, just for like, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do normal because I want to go through them at a decent pace, but I still want a challenge. Yeah, and, you know, 9 is, on normal is pretty tough. It does still give you a challenge. 10's close. It eases up a bit, but it has that, I think as I was mentioning on the last time we talked, where like, you play as a character and there's 4 battles. So the first battle is actually kind of easy. It lets you get kind of comfortable with the character, and then the difficulty ramps up to each one. By the time you get to the 4th battle, the 4th battle is actually quite challenging, which I think that's a cool way to go about it. Where I noticed in Mortal Kombat 11, even on just normals, like the battles are almost just kind of a cakewalk. You know, I think I only lost once to a normal battle, and that was only because it was like my first match of the night, so it was kind of like my warm-up round, and I just was like, okay, I wasn't all the way there. Until you get to Kronika. Kronika's where like the difficulty just ramps insanely high. Well, it's more just because she's cheap. She's just classic Mortal Kombat villain. She doesn't fight technically fair, so you got to kind of fight, you know, cheap against her, you know, because you don't try to fight it like a normal. Well, that won't work.
You know, I almost feel like Shao Kahn was really nerfed in this game as a story villain.
Yeah.
It's one thing playing arcade, it's one thing playing against your friend. But I mean, gosh, Shao Kahn. I feel like he should have been like maybe a little bit harder to play. You know, like he's just as difficult to fight as anybody else.
Yeah, no.
It's there's really not much special about him. You know, like fighting him. It's this guy who was insanely difficult in 9. 10, he wasn't around.
Yeah.
But
2 and 3 as well. Any of those ones, yeah.
Holy cow, he's just like any other character. To me, it's okay that he's like that in Mortal Kombat 1 because he's not Shao Kahn. He's General Shao. General Shao's chicken. I kept thinking that the whole time I was playing it. But yeah, it almost felt like something was amiss there with Shao Kahn's character. I love his design. I got a figure of Shao Kahn on my shelf over there from Mortal Kombat 11. I love his design. He is a badass character. If I had to assemble a team of villains from like every different franchise that I like, he'd be up in the higher ranks. And it just kind of I feel like they just kind of neutered him a little bit. Not to say that I didn't really enjoy his ending in this game. So going on with the story, there's just so much to talk about in this game.
there is a lot going on.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, you think you've gone through it all, and then you're like, oh, wait a second, because I think I know what you're going to. This is almost the biggest moment of the game, in my opinion.
So we're basically Kitana is trying to gather up warriors and whatnot in Outworld because it's been discussed with the leaders in the special forces, the Shaolin, the Raiden, Sub-Zero. I don't even think there's any Lin Kuei anymore. I don't think they even show any Lin Kuei in this game.
I don't think so. I think at this point, it's just literally Brother Sub-Zero's all left. Yeah.
Weird to think about, but yeah, it's funny too. Like the Shirai Ryu is rebuilt, but they don't see any of them either. But whatever. So yeah, like they're all trying to gather their forces, and Kitana says, "I'm gonna go get the dudes from Outworld," and she meets with Jade. Jade, also another character that previously was a Revenant. Well, her younger self comes back, and apparently she was the lover of Kotal Khan.
Yeah, and she's actually kind of different looking in this one because like
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean she's got a different outfit or so, but she almost looks kind of like I don't know, because Jade always kind of they always used to give her kind of like a darker appearance and so on like that, and in this one they almost make her kind of have, like almost like she kind of reminds me of like Talia al Ghul kind of look in a sense.
Yeah, kind of.
It's almost like they changed her Outworld race in a weird way.
Well, that's kind of like Kitana too. So like in 9, especially 9, if you compare Kitana from 9 to 11. 9, she almost looks like South American, like something like that. And in 11, she's like clearly based on an Asian female. Like there's no debate. She looks like a totally different person.
Yeah. So they totally changed it around. It doesn't. It just looks different. Is all it is. It's just kind of weird how it's like they'll switch those like Outworld races. Is the best way to sort of say it.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of times I always picture all those kind of girls kind of fitting into like, as I said, like Talia al Ghul is the best way I can kind of say it from like Batman, because that's what like Ra's al Ghul and all that stuff. They all seem like they come from some kind of like some area that would just be in between both Asia and Europe, like just like dead center, kind of gets the best of like both areas and so on like that, and kind of has this fusion that you can't specifically pinpoint to one or the other. And that's how I always pictured like Kitana, Melina, Jade, and all that stuff. Even though Jade always was much darker than all the other ones.
Yeah.
Like she came from the deep south of that area. And even the other ones too that are kind of like that too, like what's her name? Scarlet and so on, but even a little bit different.
Scarlet and Tanya. But yeah, so there
we go.
She what's her name? Jade and Kotal Khan go to check out, and they heard the rumors that the Tarkatans were back, where previously the Tarkatans were extinct, they find out, oh yeah, they're all there. So they go down and invade the camp. Kotal Khan's about to execute them, like a bunch of female and kid Tarkatans and whatnot.
He's like, I gotta look tough.
Yeah.
He's like, I've already been shamed twice so far. And Jade's like, whoa, what are you doing? Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
That's not the Kotal I know.
She whoops his butt, and then they both get captured. Well, then
once again, Kotal Khan gets his ass beat.
Yeah. By a girl. But so they get captured. They're prisoners of Shao Kahn, who has rallied become allies with the Tarkatans, of course. I guess he already was. But then, of course, so going back to Kitana, her, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao go to Outworld to recruit all these people. Well, and rescue Kotal and Jade. They do, and they're like, so, we need some help, with the forces out here. And they're like, well, I don't know what to do. And, how are we going to do this? We're not pals. We're not friends. Shiva, she meets with Shiva, and she's like, if Kotal Khan can rally the defenses of the Tarkatans, then the Shokan will also aid you. So, Kitana goes to the Tarkatans, convinces them, Baraka, like, hey, I know that you and Kotal Khan have had your differences. I know that he, killed you all, but now you're back, and maybe he won't. And, says like, if he refuses to ally with you or give you, if he's an asshole, Baraka basically says like, I'll kill him. And then she's like, yeah, well, I'll help you if that's the case. And in which, they go pretty much free Kotal Khan. And him and Shao Kahn fight for a minute, but Shao Kahn like breaks his spine, like just brutalizes this guy. Like, you're absolutely right. This whole game, Kotal Khan is just like this. He's like an anthropomorphized. He's like a human pillow.
He really. Well, I just feel the people of Outworld just probably have no faith in this guy anymore. Nothing. Yeah.
But
they have just lost it all to him. Like,
oh yeah. So after Kitana,
he's like the definition of the lame duck ruler.
Yeah, no kidding, man. The duck roast.
Yeah, the people are just like, just get that Shao Kahn back in power again. At least he knows how to do this.
Man, but yeah, so they bust in there and save him kind of until he gets his spine broken, and Jade's kind of loving on him and whatnot. Oh, it's okay. And then Kitana just goes up and just like freaking smashes Shao Kahn, like just beats ever living crap out of him, and then kills him. Yeah. And boys, am I right? My neighbors. The oopsie. But she totally like owns Shao Kahn, kills him worse than Liu Kang killed him, and then she becomes Kitana Khan. Yeah. And I thought it was so cool, the whole scene. I kind of made a little of it right there. But no, like, she kills Shao Kahn, something that Kotal Khan struggled to do and could not do.
Yep.
Fights the guy twice, and he's still just like nothing happens. But then, she does it, and she wins. And Shiva and Baraka go up to Kotal Khan, who's lying like a worthless idiot on the ground. And they're like, so what now? And he's like, they're like, we want to rule with you, and he's like, that's up to her. She's the ruler of Outworld now, and Kitana Khan. And that was something that previously, you didn't see that in Mortal Kombat in the Midway era. I mean, thus far, you haven't seen much of any of this game in the Midway era. But what I mean is just that Kitana Khan, her becoming the leader of Outworld and such an influential figure. And it's just awesome. What else is there to say?
Yeah. I think that's the coolest part of Mortal Kombat 11 is Kitana Khan. I'm like, that's so badass for the fact that, she pretty much had to play as the surrogate daughter, the Shao Kahn this whole time, and he's just kind of been just a douche to everybody and so on like that she finally stands up, being the person who like could have gone evil like her sister Melina, chose not to, but she's going to take over Outworld and actually have some change really going on there and so on like that. and even it ties into like a kind of a secondary scene that I didn't realize that there was actually multiple endings to the end of this game.
Yeah.
That involves her too. But we'll get to that in a moment. But no, I think that's the coolest part there. And I guess that's almost kind of one of the bummers. I know this jumps ahead, but like when you get to Mortal Kombat 11 or 1, I mean, is that kind of reverses that kind of hierarchy.
Yeah. This. Which ending did you get, by the way, when you?
So yeah, because I was looking that up. I was like, oh, there's multiple endings, and of course it's like, well, they're like, well, yeah, one if you lose. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't really count the one you lose. It's just a retry ending. So it sounds like when you play as like jumping ahead. I guess we kind of jump into this just to get to the ending, and I was gonna say, oh yeah, Liu Kang and Raiden kind of go back and forth on like a fight back and forth, you know, and kind of Raiden goes, well, you know, I got this vision going on where it's like, you know, me and you actually throughout the timelines, you know, we get to the end of the game and then we pretty much fight over who gets to be the guy at the top at the end.
Like, we've done this before.
Yeah, we've done this many a times. I don't know why this is. I always feel like I'm a nice guy, and then all of a sudden I pull the asshole card, like trying to get all the glory, you know. And so here's the thing: like, let's just fuse together. We'll do the fusion dance like it's Dragon Ball Z, and you'll have godlike powers, you know, combined. You'll be the fire god Liu Kang, but with some thunder stuff in there too. And
oh, that's actually so that when he realizes that they've fought before a million times, that's at the Shirai Ryu Fire Gardens. And then he actually, they all get on their boat and everything, their boats, to go to Kronika's Keep, all the armies and whatnot. And there's this big, huge battle. But before that even happens, Kronika abducts Liu Kang.
Yeah.
And about to see, so I'm going to try not to. She abducts Liu Kang, the young Liu Kang. And then as he's held prisoner, the Revenant Liu Kang pretty much absorbs him, like takes his strength, takes his soul, more or less, and then goes and fights Raiden. And then that's when, after you beat the Revenant Liu Kang, Raiden fuses with him, but also fuses with the younger Liu Kang, who apparently is like hanging on by a thread to life.
Yeah, he's like tied up and being, you know, pulled the energy out of him by Kronika and something like that. So
yeah.
I just need a strapping young lad here that I can suck the energy out of.
And as he does that, he fuses and, yeah, like you said, creates Fire God Liu Kang, which was really cool. I really thought that character was awesome. And he's like, nobody can stop him. They invade the keep. He kills a bunch of the demon revenant people and blah, blah, blah. There's the big fight going on between everyone. And then they march into Kronika's Keep, into like her time room or whatever it's called, the hourglass. And he tells, what's her name, Katana and Kung Lao, like, hey, whatever happens, you know, like, it's an honor to fight with you. And they go into there, and then all of a sudden, like, Kronika just reverses everything to where nothing happened. They, you know, like, nobody fought anything. They're everyone's going back, but now that Liu Kang's a god, a demigod, it didn't affect him. So that's how you're still there, and you just go ahead and fight Kronika finally.
Well, and Kronika goes way back in time. She goes like 65 million years back in time.
Oh, yeah.
Because now there's dinosaurs for some reason and so on like that. So she's totally trying to erase everything out of existence. But since you're, Fire God Liu Kang, you're the only one left there. And so then you get to that really tough Kronika battle that she just goes real cheap on you, and you know, you even have to fight for some reason random other characters, which I love how the random other characters it has nothing to do with like the story mode or anything like that, because sometimes it pulls out Rambo or something like that from the fight, you know. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, sure, you know, but so in order to get the different endings and so on like that, because I had to play this is the only time that I probably tried, I don't know, 8-9 times or something that felt like before I finally got it. You know how that kind of goes, but the ending I got was like the super ending, because after all those times I actually finally won without losing any of the battles here.
Yeah.
So then I get the ending like which apparently isn't the main canon ending. Actually, the ending where like you're supposed to fight or win one, lose one, and then win, and then I think you get the canon ending, which is where Raiden shows up as like Raiden the man, he'd be like, Liu Kang,
Yeah.
you are now the god. I will help you out any which way you can.
That's the one I got this last time around.
Okay. And then there's the other ending, which is kind of similar, where Raiden comes out. He's like, but instead of me helping you out, why don't you choose? So who do you want? And like Liu Kang just like, Katana. He's just like, that's what I'm taking,
That's the one I got last time I played.
And I think that's just I kind of like that one more, where it's like, even though I know they went with the other one there, but I like the idea that like it's Liu Kang and Katana that like choose the fate of like the new world.
Yeah. The you can look at all these different things that are wrong with the plot, the plot points and stuff, and the time travel thing. I think, as a kid, I really thought time traveling was super cool. I love the idea, like, go back in time. Like, that'd be super cool if like Darth Vader fought Qui-Gon Jinn. Like I said, when you're younger, whatever, it's not even that it doesn't sound cool now, but it's like with my thought process now, I just can't help but dissect it. No, this is kind of wrong and ridiculous. This doesn't make sense. But the especially like the whole like Kronika tells Raiden, like at one point right before she abducts Liu Kang, she's like, Raiden, we've had this conversation an infinity amount of times. Come on. It's like, okay, well then you should foresee your death, right? I mean, like, it's one of those things. It's like, God, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but
well, that's the thing about no matter
you can't
what
try to
you
make
do,
sense of it.
Yeah, you can't make too much. You just got to kind of go with however that story rolls. You just kind of accept it sort of for what it is. Suspend some disbelief a little bit, and I think that's the only way you can. But you can't help but also going like, oh, there's some goofy stuff here along the way, and so on. I do kind of hope that when Mortal Kombat 1 keeps going on, is that they leave it in that timeline for a while and don't try to jack with that too much.
Yeah, I'll say that the last thing that bugged me at first. That's kind of funny that I said bugged me. It's kind of ironic. You'll see why here in a sec. But in Mortal Kombat 10, when Hanzo Hasashi invades the Special Forces camp and he takes his revenge on Quan Chi. Right before he does kill him, he has a brief duel with D'Vorah. And she stabs him, like right there. It might have been right there. Whatever, it doesn't matter. She, takes her
tentacle arms,
legs out and stabs him, and he's just like, ugh, and then continues to fight like crazy. And this one, Hanzo Hasashi, prior to the heroes invading Kronika's Keep and getting on Karan ships, him and Sub-Zero went to go talk to Karan about his ships. Why he sends Sub-Zero back to the camp, it's kind of silly to me that he just is like, no, I'll just go alone from here. Like, dude, you went all the way here with him and now you're sending him back home. Okay, well, because of plot. But
yeah,
he finds Karan, the guy who owns these ships, tied up and whatever, and then he realizes, D'Vorah's up to her dastardly deeds, and he fights her, and then he fights Scorpion, and blah blah blah. But right after he fights D'Vorah and Scorpion and convinces Scorpion, like, hey man, like, it's cool, like, life's better now. I can help you, like, not be angry freaking demon, and he's, Scorpion's like, okay. And then D'Vorah comes out and freaking stabs Hanzo just like she did in Mortal Kombat 10, and this time it kills him.
Yeah.
And initially I was like, why? And then, of course, what I didn't remember from my first playtime through it, that I'm like, okay, you had to throw this line in there to give the excuse. He's like, oh, poison. So it's like, oh, that's gonna kill him. It's like, what? So she wasn't poisonous before?
Yeah, like, she's upgraded, I guess. Because we did kind of forget to mention that she kind of has a big old plot going in the background there throughout the whole game and so on. But yeah, it is kind of weird. It's like, you kill Scorpion that way. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, I mean, you get young Scorpion who kind of takes over the role and so on. So it's not like he's totally gone. But
and that was
I almost felt like it could have went the other way around. She should have maybe killed young Scorpion, then and left. Well, no, that wouldn't work because that would have killed the old Scorpion. I forgot.
Exactly.
Time travel.
And that was kind of it was kind of a bummer because like from that it was kind of cool gameplay wise because you start out with Hanzo, then you go to Scorpion, you go back to Fire Gardens, and like you're there to like help him out, but his word choice just screws him over. Like where's Hasashi? He's dead. Like you couldn't have been like, hold on, I'm not here to fight. I have terrible news, but this is what's going. No, it's
Yeah,
he's dead. And
I always feel they're just set up for gameplay, just so you can have a fight right there. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
but story wise, you can't help but think like, dude, that was the worst way you could have showed up there. Nobody trusts you, and you start off with that line and whatnot. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my last kind of. I was bummed out, to be honest. I was like, man, that was a silly way to kill him, but whatever.
Yeah, it's Mortal Kombat. He'll come back to life. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what's weird though is I was she was erased, but I was really surprised to not see D'Vorah in Mortal Kombat 1. Because she was, as far as I understand it, she was quite the fan favorite as like the character you hate to love, but you do,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird how she wasn't there. I mean,
she didn't die.
No, she didn't technically die, so yeah, she's still always alive. Another cool character that actually has a neat little storyline is the young Sonya when she gets trapped by like the black dragons and whatnot like that, and they're just gonna murder her and so on like that, and she has to fight a young Cabal and everything.
She was actually a really fun character to play as. Actually, I really loved Sonya in this game, and I really enjoyed Cabal. That's definitely one of my favorite characters. Not that it really matters gameplay wise whether he's young or old, but I thought his young character was super cool. And then of course the big surprise I think that people were expecting for a while, but it hadn't happened yet, was the death of Kano.
Yep, and Sonya has to be the one that delivers the blow, and it's cool how she does it too, because I think it's the only death in the entire Mortal Kombat 11 where somebody kills the young version to kill the old one, which is pretty badass.
I think so.
Because Kano's got, he thinks he has the upper hand, so on like that. He's got, I can't remember, does he have Johnny Cage hostage? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
he's got young Johnny Cage hostage, so he's like, it'll be a 2-for-1 because if I kill him, it'll kill old Johnny Cage and it'll kill Cassie. And then she's like, oh, thanks for reminding me. And then she just points the gun down and shoots young Kano, takes him right out, or takes both of them right out. It's pretty badass.
I don't know why it was like, to me, the death of Kano was such a historical event because this guy made it all the way from, as an enemy, he made it all the way from 9, never becoming a revenant, escaping all the time, all the way up until now, and boom, he's done.
Yeah, because the only thing I think of is he's captured in 2, but like that doesn't, he's not dead.
They either let him go or he escaped or something.
Yeah, because he's back in 3. So it's like one of those ones, and all that stuff. But no, that part's really badass. And that's the thing is, for the most part, is I think like the cool stuff kind of outweighs the goofy stuff in here. But
absolutely,
you just can't help but kind of wonder what kind of other story you would have got.
Yeah,
there's just
tough.
There's that kind of stuff.
But yeah, no, it is such a fun game. It's definitely one of my favorites. In fact, honestly, 11 is my favorite game. My personal favorite. I feel like a person can have, when it comes to like these multiple games or multiple movies in a franchise, you can have a favorite, but you can feel like there's a different one that's the best. I still stand with Mortal Kombat 9 being the best out of the NetherRealm games, like the best overall Mortal Kombat game. But 11 is my favorite.
Yeah, well, it's like 11 it gives a lot of stuff too. There's a lot of, extra modes, extra things to unlock, and so on like that. The story's pretty darn sweet, plays real smooth and so on. I do think 9 is kind of like, if there was one Mortal Kombat, I say out of all the Mortal Kombat games, I think that one kind of holds the pinnacle of like giving you all the Mortal Kombat you kind of want, giving you the classic storyline, and kind of giving you the greatest hits, just all delivered in one nice package, playing really good and so on. But man, 11 is dialed in. And I actually can't wait to check out the Aftermath because I kind of forgot. Like, I'll probably remember it once I start playing it, but like I really couldn't tell you a whole lot from this point. I'm like, what I can't remember exactly what does happen. And I think Nightwolf appears and so on. That's about all.
Nightwolf and Shang Tsung.
Yeah, Shang Tsung, because I remember that was.
And it's the voice actor for Shang Tsung is the actor who played Shang Tsung in the first Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm definitely looking forward to playing through that one there. But yeah, just going through 11, it is still pretty darn good. It just yeah, graphically, this game looks amazing. Like no matter what, like just like the cinematics and everything like that. You know, you literally are getting just this really cool movie. You know, you're gonna play once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Because I do notice the cutscenes get longer and longer in each one of these ones.
Oh,
where
man,
like
they do.
you almost like you'll watch the screensaver will come up because it's like it's been over 5 minutes or whatever. You're like, oh, I got to touch it. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's off. You know, it just dims on you and all that stuff. But yeah, that's Mortal Kombat Part 1. We went through that whole adventure there, and yeah, we'll go through the Aftermath part next and so on like that, see how it all ties in, or remember how it all ties in, and so on like that, and then any of our extra thoughts and so on we have just on Mortal Kombat 11 overall. But yeah, what a great game, worth checking out, and I think it's kind of cool. You can play it practically anywhere too. It's like one of those ones like you can play it on Switch and so on. But yeah, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, all that good stuff. But yeah, Mortal Kombat 11, check that out. Have some good times. Join us for the Aftermath next. But till then, you can always find all the podcasts and Good Time Fun on YouTube as well as Spotify. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Dave Candito.
And we'll see you some other time.